This video is for mental health therapists and clinicians who treat social anxiety. The Stages of Change model was built by Prochaska and DiClemente in the 70s and 80s, and is found everywhere in addiction and mental health. However, very few explanations capture what change actually feels like, especially in social anxiety. Change is not linear, it's not a staircase, it's a cycle of trying, hesitating, pulling back, and then trying again. And underneath every part of that cycle is the same emotional engine: shame. That's why I created this series, to walk through the stages of change as they actually show up in social anxiety treatment, and how clinicians can work with them without pressure, judgment, or perfectionism. The stages of change were originally designed within addiction treatment, and what's often missed is that the model was never meant to be linear. It was always intended to be cyclical and flexible, as well as adaptive, a reflection of how people actually change, both on the micro moment and the macro life. That's what makes it surprisingly useful for understanding social anxiety, only if we account for the emotional drivers, though. Social anxiety is not a motivation problem. It's not a willpower problem, and it's definitely not a social skills problem. It's a shame problem. A fear of exposure, judgment, and being seen as not enough. When we look at the stages through the shame lens and ACT framework, behavior suddenly makes sense. People aren't resisting change, they're protecting themselves. Here's a brief roadmap of the 5 stages you'll find in the series. The first is pre-contemplation. This stage is often mislabeled as not caring. The most common phrase you'll hear is, "I don't want to." In social anxiety, that's fear hiding behind preference. In contemplation, it often sounds like awareness waking up. "I can't live like this anymore," they say, alongside, "I'll probably fail if I try." Shame is running a cost-benefit analysis. In the next phase, preparation, planning begins to feel productive. And be mindful that in social anxiety, planning often becomes perfectionism in disguise. "I'll change once I know 100% certainty that I won't mess this up." The next stage is action, where behavior finally starts to change, not confidently, vulnerably. Shame spikes alongside effort. And in this stage, clients need help interpreting discomfort accurately. By not treating it as failure, by treating it with curiosity and data. What'd you discover? The final stage I call iteration. And most models call this maintenance or relapse, and I don't use either term. Maintenance implies stability, relapse implies failure, and neither reflects psychological inflexibility. Iteration is the truth of how change actually works. Again, it's try, notice, adjust, and then try again. Iteration centers learning, not performance. Momentum, not judgment. Growth, not shame. This series matters because it gives clinician a shame-informed roadmap for motivation, exposure, and behavior change. It also models the principles that we're teaching: imperfect action refined over time. And if you want a deeper framework for understanding the shame underneath social anxiety, that's what both my shame lens map and CEU underneath social anxiety was created for. It walks through this entire model in depth with clinical guidance provided at each stage. The links are down below and they'll take you right there. I'm glad you're here. Let's keep going.